Hi everyone, Jim Gavin here from the Football Review Committee. I'm here today with James and Éamonn, and we're going to go through the rule enhancements that have been passed by Special Congress on the 30th of November. As some background, I just want to talk about the reason why the FRC was set up, and the association has for itself an ambition to merge the ladies football with men's football and hurling with camogie. And as part of that vision, the association has for itself, it wants Gaelic games to be the most exciting amateur game in the world to play and watch. And we've been asked as an FRC, a Football Review Committee, to look at Gaelic football. And on Tuchtarán Cumulúca Squail, Jarlath Byrne gave the committee some terms of reference, and they speak to making the game entertaining to watch. We're asked to review the traditional game against recent innovations. We're asked to look at various reports and really come up with a new blueprint for Gaelic football. As you will be aware, we had a survey that had over 7,000 responses. And from that, we got 5 key themes that people want to see more: high fielding, kick passing, long-range scores, goal scoring, and one-to-one contests. And what we want to do in this particular video is to take you through the 7 core rule enhancements and then speak about some other motions that the members of Congress passed a number of weeks ago. So the first one up is the 1v1 trope, and I'm going to hand over to James to talk us through this.
Thanks, Jim. So yeah, I'm going to talk through the 1-on-1 throw-in that's been implemented. So really what that is it's an attempt really to add excitement to the start of the game. As you see here in some of the clips that are running out, the start of a lot of games, there's a lot of fouling, there's a lot of congestion. You can see here the two front midfielders are tussling. So what we looked at is how can we make that more exciting? What can we do that will add maybe an attacking opportunity at the start of the game? So again, here you'll see this in the majority of games where there's a foul. So we looked at the 1-on-1 throw-in. And throughout the sandbox games, we looked at different options. So you can see here there was an evolution from this where we had 2 midfielders jumping and we had the 2 other midfielders on their defensive 45s. So what we moved to was where we had the 2 midfielders jumping and we had the other midfielders, 1 on each sideline. This creates, whoever wins the ball, it creates an attacking opportunity straight away. So you'll see in some of the clips how that happens. So you see here that wins the ball and immediately goes on the attack. There's quick hand passing, quick transition, and the ball is kicked into the full forward line with support runners, and the shot is kicked off. So the idea was to add that bit of excitement, to add that attacking threat, and to reduce the fouls that happen at the start of games.
Next, we're going to deal with the kickouts. Over to you, Éamonn.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, look, looking at the kickouts, I think there was a couple of things that came into the option to take a kick out a bit quicker if the goalkeeper so wishes, and the other thing then was to create those 1-on-1 contests that Jim spoke about earlier on as being one of the things that people sought out in the surveys. So we can see the setup here with the 40-meter arc. You can see there's players inside. The team taking the kick out can't receive a ball inside the arc. They can in that number 6 position. Obviously, they're outside the arc, but critically, the team that are facing the kick out can intercept the ball inside the arc once it's gone to 13 meters. As I mentioned there as well, you can see in that graphic where there are players situated inside the arc, and that is fine. We see that here in this first clip here as it's playing out. When the players are still inside in the arc and they're okay to kick it out, to get it to that kind of an area, the 6th spot there, and away they go and they can move it up the field. So it's still possible to get those placed kickouts and those shorter kickouts if the goalkeeper so wishes. You can see in this clip as well that it's important to point out that the goalkeepers can still dictate the pace of the game. They can go quick if they so wish. That's the one where it was intercepted inside the D by an attacking player. It evolved in our motions from there that initially we didn't want the attacking player to be able to get it in there, but we saw the value of it in that particular game. And it evolved, and now the attacking players are getting rewarded for pressing up, which is a great thing. Again, one of the things that we're trying to encourage. So hopefully that all those little nuances around the kick out will add to the excitement.
We're going to speak now about the goalkeeper. and I'm going to talk you through this one. So we have introduced a motion which no longer, I suppose, prohibits a team passing back to the goalkeeper within their half, and we have some graphics to show you here. However, we are allowing the goalkeeper to receive the ball from a player inside the large rectangle, or in the opposition half of the field of play. This really kind of speaks to the modern innovations in the Gaelic football. So here we have a video from last year of Tyrone playing, and one of the best goalkeepers around now, Morgan, and you can see Nally getting the ball against Cork. Cork don't press because the Tyrone will have the extra player, the outlet player will be the goalkeeper. So they have withdrawn, and we get this pedantic, slow, methodical gameplay, which nobody wants to see, really. What we've introduced there is a halfway line. So as Niall crossed the halfway line in the motion, he could receive the pass. However, as I mentioned, the goalkeeper can receive the ball in the opposition to the half of the field and get great scores like Niall can get. And that's the exciting bit of it. And the graph just reaffirms that particular point. So we're going to have a look at now some clips from games that were played in the Interprovincial Series as part of our ramp up towards a special Congress. In this clip, Ulster have the ball. They don't use Niall, and because they can't use Niall as the goalkeeper, the players immediately go vertically up the pitch. And again, that's what people want to see. Now, the outcome of this is probably irrelevant. We just want to see the ball being moved forward in a forward direction. And again, speaking to our terms of reference. So the next rule enhancement we're going to look at is the scoring system, the 40-metre arc. So over to you, James.
Yeah, again, as Jim mentioned earlier on, I suppose long distance kicking and point scoring was one of the key themes that came out through a lot of the different stakeholder engagements that we had and the surveys. So the new scoring system has generated much debate, and I suppose the introduction of the 2-point arc, or the 40-metre arc. So that's where you can see here on the graphic that it's 40 meters out. So it's an arc into the 20-meter line, and outside that is a 2-point score, where a ball is kicked outside that arc on the full over the bar without being touched by another player. There is an option where that ball is kicked outside the 40-meter arc. It can hop and go over the bar without being touched by anyone else. It's still a 2-point score. So you can see here in the game, there is quite a lot of 2-point scoring, and I suppose the information told us that that's what people like, and they'd like to see more of it. So we hope that this new scoring system will generate more long distance kicking. That, of course, as well will lead to maybe tactical innovations from a defensive point of view, where you'll have opposition that will need to come out and press higher when teams have the ball, and you'll see that in some of these clips. We can see here a team attacking. You can see the arc in the distance there. You can see here where Ethan Rafferty, I think it is, takes a shot, and the defender sort of stands off him, because typically that's where teams would keep the ball and have possession. But because of the 2-point incentive, we see people taking more shots. So that will force maybe defenders to come out and press a little bit higher, which of course will lead to perhaps more goal chances inside. So anything outside the 2-point, the 40-meter line is 2 points. The only exception to that really is where there's a 45, where that's now 1 point, and the goal is 3 points. It was initially 4 point, but post interprovincials, we reviewed that again as an FRC, and based on some of the feedback, so the goal is now 3 points. So it's 3 points for goal, 2 points outside the 40-meter arc, and 1 point obviously if there's a score within inside the 40-meter arc.
Now we're moving on to, I suppose, one of the fundamental rule enhancements that was passed by Congress a number of weeks ago. The committee ourselves, we debated long and hard about this. We understand there are challenges initially, but from what we've seen to date in games played using the new rule enhancements, it accrues lots of benefits. So over to Éamonn for the 3-3 structure rule.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. As you mentioned there, the 3-3 structure is probably central to a lot of what we're trying to do in terms of giving back some of that traditional structure, but still allowing teams defend with 11 if they so wish. And, some of those defensive setups have been one of the modern innovations. So this is a clip from last year's Kerry-Derry Championship game, the All-Ireland quarter-final, and Kerry had gone back into shape. Only David Clifford was up the field, and we see when David gets the ball here, he's attacking into empty space, he's on his own. Derry defended very well, but under the new rule, David will have another 2 players up there with him. Similarly here in the Leinster final, Louth were able to sit in very narrow and deep. They played to great effect that day. They'll still be able to sit narrow and deep if they so wish, but it will only be with 11 bodies. These graphics explain it very well. We see here where the red team are defending, and as the blue team are attacking, they have to keep 3 back, and there has to 3 reds remain in the attacking half of the pitch as well. So it obviously limits the amount that they can defend. We saw plenty of examples of it in the interprovincial games, where the structure was there to go forward immediately, and you had the shape to move forward immediately. And we see here that Munster, while they had that shape to go forward, we can see the lads there, they still had the freedom and the choice to run the ball as they so wish, as they did in a lot of that clip. But you also have the option to kick it a bit sooner as well if you want to get away quicker in a counter-attack. Still keeps that shape where you have good few players up the pitch quicker than possibly we would have had, in the recent past, where the players are up and down the pitch constantly with each other, defending every time they don't have the ball and attacking every time they do have the ball. So, as Jim mentioned, in the games we've seen, it has been very positive. There has been suggestions that there could be challenges around refereeing it in club games. I don't think there will be once we all get used to the rules. What we've seen is that there can be the odd breach of the rule early in games, but as players get used to this, they're communicating with each other, and our players are so able and everything else now that they're used to playing different conditions and training all the time. So hopefully as it goes on, it'll just bed in and we'll see very few issues with it.
We're going to move now on to the solo and go. I'll take this one. So the solo and go is a concept where if a player is fouled, that player or their teammate may take a solo and go, or what's known in the rule book is a toe tap and go. So the ball needs to be toe tapped and received back into the hands, and the player can then move on. This will speed up the game, as we're going to see some clips, and it really injects a lot of pace into the game. So here we have a scenario where one of the Ulster players is fouled, takes his solo and go, and immediately the play is on, and there's a great score here from Munster, should I say. So other thing to mention with the solo and go is that you need to go in a forward direction, or you can go sideways. You can't go backwards with it. When you take the solo and go, the opposition need to give you 4 meters, or shall we say 4 steps with the ball, and then you can be tackled. If you're tackled before you take 4 meters, the ball will be moved up 50 meters. And again, we'll be speaking about very shortly about delay fouls. So if a player tries to delay a player taking a solo and go, like gets in their way purposely with the intent of deliberately gaining an advantage by slowing the player down who's taking tap and go, or the solo and go, should I say, the ball will be moved up 50 meters by the referee. So this again is another fundamental rule enhancement, and we've really seen the players enjoy this. So that is the solo and go. Okay, so the next rule enhancement is the advanced mark, and this speaks to a number of the things that people wanted to see: long range kick passing, long range scores, high fielding, one-to-one contest, and maybe goals. Over to James.
Yeah, so looked at this in a lot of detail. Obviously, there's a lot of commentary on the previous advanced mark system that was there. So this is a complete change, and really what it is the kick for the advanced mark, as you see here in the graphic, must be from outside the 45-meter line to inside the 20-meter line, and must be taken on the full. So you'll see here in some of the clips the way the mark used to be. So you can see here. Anywhere inside the 45, the kick was taken. And with the old marking system that was in place, we can see here between Kerry and Galway where the ball is caught, and the player would put his hand up straight away to take the mark, as per was the rule. This led to a lot of frustration as potential goal scoring or point scoring opportunities were sort of missed as the player stopped the phase of play. So we looked at all that to see what could we do that would add to the game and add to scoring possibilities. So you can see here the kick is from outside the 45. taken inside the 20, the player plays on, and there's a score there, so that's the play plays out. We see here in one of the sandbox games where the ball, it's kicked outside the 45 again, taken inside the 20. And one of the things that we've added in this is that the player, when he takes the ball, the ref will signal for the mark, but the player can play on. And if vantage is not accrued, it will come back to where the mark was taken. So in this case, you see the player that caught the mark passed off the ball. The guy that took the shot, it was blocked down, but the ref correctly indicates that it'll go back to where the original mark was taken. So the new advanced mark gives players the opportunity. We wanted to put in a system that incentivizes going for goal or going for that score. And if they don't get it or advantage doesn't accrue, that they can come back and take the mark.
Okay, so the next area that we're going to have a look at is Dissent, which is Rule 6 in the rule book for those of you who are familiar with it. And the first one we're going to speak about is Rule 6.4 that's been amended. And I'll hand over to Éamonn to explain this.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I suppose, look, our thinking behind this was that the whole culture within our game, we're trying to kind of undergo a cultural revolution in terms of the respect towards the match officials, which will hopefully help in terms of them being able to run games and help with recruitment in the future as well, from the point of view of the Give Respect, Get Respect initiative. And we felt that with the 13-metre penalty that was there, that it wasn't hurting teams enough and it wasn't having an impact in terms of behaviours. So, as Jem mentioned there, the rule in terms of displaying or showing dissent with a referee's decision to award a free to the opposition now carries a 50-metre advancement of the ball. And, it's significant. It's going to hurt teams. And because of that, there's going to be discussions within the dressing rooms. And you'd hope that for once and for all, it'll get rid of dissent out of our game. It'll get rid of those situations where, particularly as we move down through the grades and down to club, where there's a lot of, it's quite challenging for the referee, particularly if he or she is there on his own. So hopefully this 50-metre advancement will have a positive impact, and we'll see very little of it as it goes on, because it's too harming to the team. And James now is going to discuss the little nuance with the situation at under 18 and below.
Yeah, so just to build on what Éamonn said, so at under 18 level, what has been put through is that the 50-metre penalty will apply if a player shows dissent to the referee's decision. So it'll be penalised the 50 metres, but at under 18 level, it will be a black card for that player. So that black card will be taken off for a 10-minute period. He will be automatically replaced, so the team won't suffer as a result. It'll be that specific player that'll have 10 minutes to cool off, and after the 10-minute period, that player will be able to come on. So it is the 50-metre penalty, and there's the added impact of that player that showed that dissent to the ref's decision will be taken off for a 10-minute period.
Thanks, James. The next one I'm going to deal with is a motion that was passed, Rule 39, which speaks about giving respect and getting respect, not only from the players, but also from team officials. So there's a fundamental change here to the culture of the association, where if a team official gives abusive language or engages in disruptive conduct or interferes with the playing of a game, anything that would deem to be a red card offence by a team official, not only will the team official be sent off by receiving a red card, the team will be punished by the ball being advanced to the 13-metre line on the offending team's 30-metre line in front of the goal. So you will be conceding a score in addition to being sent off. And I said this was passed by Congress, and not that it happens often, but if it does, you'll also be conceding a score. So the next area we're going to look at is what's known as delay fouls. A good few areas to cover here. Delaying the player taking a free kick, a sideline kick, a solo on go, handing back the ball, and hand over to Éamonn.
Thanks, Jim. As you mentioned there, Jim, there's a good bit in this one in terms of those tactical delay fouls, and again it comes under the 50-metre, because oftentimes for a team it made sense for them to delay the foul, even if it was only being brought up 13 metres, allowed them to get back into shape and so on. So the 50-metre punishment is coming in here, as Jim mentioned, with regard to stopping or delaying the taking of a free kick, sideline, kick out, or a solo and go. So the ball is advanced 50 metres. There's a couple of probably subtle and important points within that if the team take a solo and go at the start of it, that's okay. But once the ball is brought up 50 metres, they can't take a solo and go. They have to take the free kick from the advancement. Also, with regard to that advancement, if the original foul has taken place outside the 40-metre arc and it's brought into the 40-metre arc because of the 50-metre advancement, the team or the player can elect to bring it back outside on the line it has been advanced to have a 2-point effort. So there are probably important points around that. Another thing with regard to this particular one is that when the referee awards a 50-metre advancement for the delay foul, we will see them signalling with their arm out sideways. And where this came from is we found ourselves that at some of the sandbox games, when the ball was being brought up 50 metres, we were wondering ourselves what it was for. And it just allows the referee to communicate to the teams, to those of us attending games, that's what it's for. If it's brought up for dissent, there's going to be no signal. If it's brought up for a delay foul, it will be brought up with the referee extending his arm out sideways. The other part of this rule that's, again, it'll require a cultural change, is that if a player is in possession and a free is awarded against them, they have to hand the ball back to the nearest opposition player respectfully and promptly. Again, if they don't, that will be a 50-metre advancement, so it is a pretty costly one. We'll see that in some clips here where players were holding on to the ball. We see these ones now where the ball isn't given back, the player holds on to it, straight away the referee's on it and it's being advanced up the field to 50 metres. Similarly here, ball's thrown away. You can see that the players straight away are on it, they're onto the referee is bringing it in. That's one of those ones where it could be brought back out for a 2-metre shot. Similarly here, the player isn't handing back the ball respectfully and promptly. So because of that, it's brought up. Fairness to David Coldrick, he's getting up the pitch fast. You'd expect your team to be getting the ball up the pitch even quicker to get up that 50 metres and then to look inside and to exploit the advantage you have here. We've won for over carrying here again. Again, the ball is dropped in the ground rather than handed back to the opposition. So because of that, it's brought up to 50 metres. Again, you'd be expecting as players go on that they'll be maybe kicking that ball up to one of their teammates who's 50 metres up the pitch, and it'll give them an opportunity to move the ball on that bit quicker. So again, it will require a cultural change, but again, because of the severity of the penalty and the way it's going to cost teams, you would expect it to have a pretty serious impact and an impact straight away, and that it would clear it out of the game for once and for all. That was a good example where it was just handed back straight away. Similarly here with Niall Morgan, he just gave it back. And I think what teams will rely straight away is that the player giving the ball back, as in these slips, is going to be out of the game straight away. So you have to forget about him, and it's his teammates that have to be scrambling into position to help out. So plenty of examples there of it, and the 50-metre advancement, we see another example of it there.
Next we're going to have a look at is an addition to the cynical play, which are known as Category 2 infractions. And over to James.
Yeah, so we're going to look at I suppose, intentional tactical fouling or cynical play. So we looked at the existing black cards that are there are clear and in the game. So when we reviewed other cynical play, it became evident that there was lots of examples where opponents were deliberately stopping or preventing or holding up a player from being involved in the game. So when we had a look at it, they were not completing black card offences as they were, but they were still involved or engaged in cynical play where they were deliberately preventing the player. So we saw examples where they were held and prevented from being involved. So we looked at that and we decided that would be a black card offence. So it's an addition to the existing black card catalogue where if you deliberately prevent a player from advancing or being involved in the game by holding him up, that would be a black card.
Next one up is Motion 35 at Congress, which deals with the melee, and over to Éamonn.
Thanks, Jim. For the melee, I suppose one of the things that we felt as we reviewed the rules was that, it was very few referees that were willing to flash the red cards for the third or subsequent player into melee. So we recategorized it. It's now a black card offence where the third or subsequent player into melee who isn't trying to remove his own teammate from the situation will get a black card. So you'd be hoping that referees will be willing to use that. It'll make it a bit easier for them to implement that rule. And by extension, hopefully, again, it will eliminate melees because teams are being punished. And again, it is something that would hurt you, particularly if a couple of players got involved and you got a couple of black cards in the one go. You could be down to 12 or even 11 pretty quickly with some of the melees that we've seen in the recent past. So hopefully it will help the referees to implement the rule and will eliminate the melees by extension.
And now we're going to talk about empowering our line umpires, as they're officially known as, and over to James.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So really, I suppose to promote cooperation really between the officials during the game, we looked at this and tried to formalize maybe a lot of what's happening already between umpires and the referee. And really what we're looking at is that the umpires, we're neutral, which is important, can bring to the attention immediately any incursion onto the field or any foul play to the referee. So it helps identifying any issues or foul play, etc., that happens during the course of the game. So umpires as well will be able to be involved in assessing the validity of scores, etc., as well. So it'll promote a lot of cooperation and ultimately will enhance the officialdom of our games. So that is where the umpires are neutral. For example, in all inter-county games and club championship games, where they're not neutral, this will not be in play.
And Éamonn is now going to speak about a new innovation for referees, Vanishing Foam.
Yeah, the Vanishing Foam, Jim, is going to be published as a guideline to assist the referees in determining exactly where the spot is that a free kick is to be taken from. We had seen it particularly from players that take free kicks from their hands, that they were improving angle and distance by the time that they'd kicked the ball, and it was a thing that they were gaining advantage from. So what we'll see now, as we see in the clips here, is that when a player is fouled, the referee will mark the spot. It's up to them to make sure then that they kick the ball before they hit that line. If they do happen to cross the line, then it will be a hot ball. So, teams will have to be careful with that one, even in that particular example. And some of the examples we saw in the Interpros, they were going right up against the line. I think as it goes on, the players will give themselves that bit of leeway to make sure that they're kicking it from outside the line. But again, it's just something that makes life easier for the referees. And it will mean that the kick is being taken from the correct position at all times.
Next up is the captain rule. Over to you, James.
Yeah, so again, a rule that's along the lines of building and getting respect. So the rule is that a captain or a delegate can seek clarification on a decision from a referee. So this is to really, I suppose, promote communication and promote explanation maybe from refs on decisions. So the communication can continue between a referee and players. For example, if there is a decision and the ref can explain that decision to a player, that can continue, and hopefully this will enhance that, because I think that's good for all round. But if there's clarification needed on a decision, it can only be from the captain or a delegate where that is appropriate, if the captain's off the field, etc. So if it's from another player that isn't the captain or delegate, it's a 50-meter penalty from where that advancement from where the free took place.
The last area we're going to cover off is the stop clock that was recently passed by Congress. And a public clock and hooter will be used where available. If not, the referee will use their watch, as they do successfully in ladies football. The public clock, where possible, will count down. The match official will be in charge of the timing, and they will signal by winding their hand to start the clock, by putting their hands above their heads in a cross motion to stop the clock. And at the end of the time, the hooter or the whistle will sound. If the ball is in flight, the score will count. If a free kick is awarded and a hooter goes, the free kick may be taken. But the ball must cross the bar, go over the bar or under the post for a goal without touching another player. If there's a penalty, the penalty may be taken. The goalkeeper may touch the ball and go into the net. That's also allowed. And that is the stop clock. So that concludes our review of the new football rule enhancements that were passed by Congress in November. I'd like to thank sincerely to James and Éamonn for their time to record this piece, and indeed to all members of the Football Review Committee for all their endeavours and for the support we received from Croke Park, Central Council and Custody Banishty. We're all really excited to see how these new rules develop for the 2025 season at both club and intercounty. And we will be following up with some more analysis from members of the FRC as the National League and the Championship progress. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you all again online soon. Thank you.